Alright guys, welcome to this tutorial on Windows Resource Monitor. So Windows Resource Monitor is a very cool utility. It's built into your Windows operating system. You don't have to install any third-party applications to be able to access it. And what it can do is really very robust. Now, if you guys out there have been using this for a while, and you might also be aware about other utilities like Process Explorer, obviously they are much more awesome than this built-in Windows Resource Monitor. But I must say that I have used Windows Resource Monitor personally at my work for quite a time now. It's been almost a year, and I find it quite helpful most of the times. So there are very less times when I have to go into more complexity of Process Explorer, although that is more robust and has much more bigger and more covering features. But my work just gets done with Resource Monitor most of the time. So let's have a look at this application once. Now, in order to launch Resource Monitor, you go to on your okay. All right. So you go to your taskbar, right click, and say Start Task Manager. Now over here in Performance tab, you have this option of Resource Monitor. So this is what the Resource Monitor utility looks like. Okay, let me just largen it a bit. All right. Now overview. So under the overview tab, you have all these options, which shows all the list of current processes that are currently running on your system, the disk activity that is currently happening on your system, what processes are using what part of the disk, the input outputs that they are making, the reads and writes that they are doing to the disk, and so on. So if you ever feel that your hard disk feels quite slow, this is where you can come up and see what processes are using most part of your hard disk. The same goes for network activity, what processes are using how much of your network bandwidth, or even in general network, if you are copying large data, or if you're on a network where you regularly require using maybe your local network to copy large files from one system to other, and so on. And then the memory module. So if your RAM is being quite used up, so over here if I see my memory is being used, I have 4 gigs of RAM and currently it's using 2.14 gigs of RAM. And I know so which applications are using how much RAM. So I'm using Cam Recorder, it's using 151 and something, and Chrome is 270 and something. This is kilobytes. So this is how I have the breakup, and this is the overview tab where I have all the information I want in front of me, right? It's like more like a dashboard. Now right now the monitoring is running, so the monitoring is active on my system. If I want to stop this, I can go to monitor and say stop monitoring. So this will stop monitoring the processes from now on. Whatever was monitored till now is here in front of you. And if you again want to start monitoring, just obviously go to monitor and say start monitoring. And this will again start monitoring all the processes. Autofit columns. So all the columns are autofit. If you just click this, and if I uncheck this, and so right now they are autofit, but if I close and open this, they might not be autofit. So if you don't want to go on one by one auto-fitting all the columns, you have it here. Monitor auto-fit columns in window, and they will be auto-fit so that you can view all the text clearly. Now obviously for such applications where there is too much text involved, there will be some places where some text will be wrapped up. It will be sort of shortened, as you can see over here under the file column, and that's quite obvious. I mean, if you go on trying to view this, this is going to use a large part of your screen, almost your entire screen in just one column, and that's not what we want. Okay, so that was about overview tab. It has all types of activity listed at one place. Now let's go at CPU. Oh, I'm sorry, this is my phone ringing. Let me just silent it. All right, now if you go on the CPU tab, over here you have all the current running processes and their average CPU usage, the number of threads that are active for each and every process, and the level of CPU that they are using. Under the services option, it shows the list of currently active services that are running on your machine. So these services, I mean, you can obviously go to something like services.msc and see all the services that are configured on your system. You can configure them with which ones are started, which ones are set to start automatically, and the ones that are not running over here. So if it doesn't show started, that means that these services are not running. So obviously these services that are running right now are coming from that same list which I just showed you. We just ran window key and R, and in the run menu we just typed services.msc. Okay, so now each and every tab will obviously show you the listed graphs like this. This graph for each and every tab has three different views, which is large, medium and small. If you want to medium them, shorten them a bit, small, even smaller. I keep it large myself because that's quite helpful to me. Apart from this, you can obviously select a particular process. So if I want to select a particular process, I can select it like this. Now it will show me services that are related to that particular process. I don't have any services related to that particular process. That's why nothing is appearing over here. Also, whenever I select a particular process, all the associated handles, the DLLs and all that, and the associated modules, the files that are linked to that particular process are also shown up in this particular list. So say for example I want to see cam recorder. If I just select this, it will show me all the associated handles with camrecorder.exe. You can see it over here, the files and the directories and the registry keys and so on. You can also see the associated modules for this particular process, camrecorder.exe. So over here, all these modules that are currently linked, the DLL files are appearing. The versions for each and every module is again shown over here. So you can obviously select a particular process and see all the associated handles and the associated modules with that particular process. Not only that, whenever you select one particular process, it turns into orange, and that particular orange line appears in graphs over here, as you can see over here. If I make them even more bigger. Okay, so as you can see over here, now camrecorder.exe is consistently using this much of CPU. The green is the rest of the processes, the orange is what camrecorder.exe is using. If I change this to say something like Chrome, or okay, now we are seeing it for chrome.exe, all the associated handles and the associated modules. Now Chrome is virtually using no CPU at the moment, so that's why there's nothing appearing over here, it's 0. If you want to see for something else, system is one thing that is using the CPU, so you can see over here a small bottomed out orange line that is indicating the CPU usage for just system process and all the associated modules with the system process. These are mainly the drivers and all the config files that you have configured on your system. So that's pretty much it about the CPU tab. Under the memory tab, now notice one more thing. Whenever you select a particular process under one tab, it is automatically selected under other tabs as well. So if I selected system under CPU tab, this process appears selected under memory tab, under disk tab, as well as under network activity tab. So say for example you want to only monitor a particular process, just select that process under any of the one tabs, and if that process appears under other tabs, it will be always selected there. So you don't have to worry about selecting them or remembering the processes that you selected under one tab and having to manually reselect them under different tabs as well. That is something that it takes care of automatically. Okay, so let me uncheck system and let me check Chrome. Okay, so Chrome, now I have selected Chrome process under CPU tab. It's using 0.35% of my CPU at the moment. You can see small spikes over here. Now under memory tab, it is using this much amount of memory. It is showing a complete breakup of different types of memory that it is using right now. So again, if this was a substantial amount of memory, it would have appeared over here as well. This process is always linked to the process ID, which is PID. So if you want to kill this particular process or the entire process tree, you can always right click on it and go to end process tree, and you can even suspend the process if you want to, or and then you can resume it at a later time. So if I want to suspend the process, I just click on suspend the process. Once I have suspended the process, if it is resumable, under the right click menu it will highlight, it will ungray off the resume process link. Then I can click on resume process to resume this particular process. So that was about memory tab. Now let's look at disk tab. So notice that I have selected Chrome because Chrome is not making any disk related activities like reading or writing to the disk. It is not appearing over here at all. So although it shows that one process is selected, but because that process is not here in this particular list, it doesn't appear selected in the first place. So let me select system just for the sake of it. Now you can see most of the disk read and write activity is being done by the system, and hence over here the orange lines are completely matching the green spikes and troughs. That is the reason why this is happening. So if I select the other system process where it is not taking much of the system resources, okay, because it's substantially low, it's not even appearing on the graph. Let me select, say, Chrome. Again, that is substantially low. So you get the point. What I'm trying to say over here is that if you are making any particular selections on the process, it reflects under the disk activity, under the memory, under the CPU, and under the network tab, which we are just about to have a look at. It also reflects on the graphs. It turns into orange so that you can compare the activity for that particular process with the rest of the system. And under the network tab, you actually have a much bigger thing that you might want to check. So under the network tab, it not only shows you everything that has to do with the network activity, it also shows you the live connections that are currently going on. So my Avast antivirus is currently making connection to this particular address, maybe because it is trying to check any definition updates or any program updates consistently in the background. So that again shows me that something is using consistently my resources in the background, my network bandwidth in the background. So if I want to terminate this particular process, I can do it just by right clicking this particular process over here and say end process tree. The same goes with Chrome. There are times when you have multiple tabs open on Chrome or Firefox or Internet Explorer or whatever the browsers you're using, and if you want to see what particular websites are they currently talking to, or are they currently liaising with, you can see that from here. So these are the IP addresses of those websites. Now these look like more like Google websites, so this could be the background update check and so on. Or I have Gmail and Google Drive open, it could be that as well. Interestingly, you can also see the local connections. So currently I am using ASUS router at my home, and SVC host has made a connection to router.asus.com to ensure my connectivity, my LAN cable connectivity that I have with this particular router. It is, I think this one is the loopback, because first PC is the host name for my current machine that I'm using, and so on. So obviously this is the vast amount of information you can have, and this is quite useful, especially when you are working in that domain that requires you to monitor the resources that are currently active and running on your system. Now let's have a look at TCP connections list. Under TCP connections, it not only shows you the address through which the connection is going on, it also shows you the connection on each and every instance of that particular process. Where is it making connection to, and what IP address is making connection to what? So 192.168.1.253 is my local address, the local address of my system that I'm currently using, and remote address is the one on which this particular instance of Chrome is making connection to, and this is the port number that they're using. So if I wanted to check what is this particular thing, I can simply go on something like IP trace and trace this particular IP and see what it is that Chrome is making connection with. So I have the port number and the remote port number. You know what, let's actually go ahead and see it on maybe Firefox. I said 74.125 seems more like Google IP. Let's still have a look at it. I'm just going to do IP trace. So let me go to iptracker.org, whichever comes first. Now you can see, because I have opened Firefox, there are so many listed processes of Firefox, and Firefox is making connections to so many IP addresses consistently on port 80 and port 443 and so on. So we were on which particular process? Okay, let's grab this one, 74.125.68.189. Okay, so I'm going to do 74.125.68.189, and let's say trace IP with IP tracer. And you can see this belongs to Google. ISP is Google. It's located in Mountain View, California, and that's pretty much it. So Chrome is making its background connections with its own server, Google, maybe to check the updates, maybe to sync, because I'm signed into Chrome using my Google Gmail ID and so on. So that was it about this particular video. So just to once again show you that one thing, that which particular process is using how much resources. So I just selected Firefox because that's doing most of the network activity right now, and you can see the um, orange lines appearing over here, the TCP connections and the entire network activity. So also the reading is from 0 till 100 kbps. So if you have large network usage, say that goes into Mbps or something, then it will be 0 to whatever is the max that your system is using at this particular given moment. Now again, so as I said, you have much more in-depth coverage of all these things, all these features in a third-party utility. Okay, not third-party, it's now owned by Microsoft anyways, which is called Process Explorer. It comes in sysinternal suite. But Resource Monitor, the built-in utility, is not much useless either. It is helpful, and it has helped me quite a lot. I showed you how. So if you ever want to go ahead and use Resource Monitor, feel free to have a look at this video, a small tutorial, and then go ahead and use it. So that was pretty much it from my end, guys, for this particular video. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much. Do like and share this video if you like it. Let me know your comments and suggestions and recommendations in the comments below. If you have anything to share with me, or if you want anything, any particular sort of video, any particular topic to cover me on, I'll try and do that from my end. And don't forget to subscribe and like this particular video. Don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thanks a lot for watching this, and do stay tuned for more.